Well, the world of gaming is throwing more curveballs at the consumers out there. It seems that a lot of publishers and a lot of developers are thinking that you must pay more for games. You must pay more for the games that just don't seem to work. You have to sit there, optimize these systems, but you as the consumer must pay the price. This is the word I am reading from a few different developers, namely in this case, Capcom. Well, before I get fully into this, do hit the like, subscribe button, all those things. We've seen tremendous growth over the last little while here, and I want to keep that going up. Help me reach new heights on this channel and subscribe today. Anyway, Capcom's president thinks its games should cost more, and this is where everything else is going. The publisher hasn't yet joined others in charging $70 for new releases. If you saw in the thumbnail, you see I put in Starfield, I put in Hogwarts Legacy, and Mortal Kombat 1, all new games that came out, and they're all extremely high in price. Where we're looking at Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch having absolutely dreadful graphics. You're looking at Starfield for PC and Xbox having nothing but glitches and crashes. The game relatively runs well, but it's having issues. And Hogwarts Legacy, one I got to play here on the channel, also, I had optimization issues with it and constant falling through the world. PC gaming or gaming in general is under this scrutiny where you need these day one fixes ongoing with these games for them to work. Recently, we saw Cyberpunk 2077 come out with the new DLC, and from the sounds of it, the new DLC is fixing a lot of the original issues with Cyberpunk. But where does that leave us? That leaves us with a game that's now, I believe, $80 plus $40 for the DLC, so a $120 game. Now, in this case, we have Capcom now stepping into the fray, saying games need to cost more. The president of Capcom believes video games need to cost more to buy, according to a report from the Toyko Games Show about several topics, including the increasing cost of game development. It was reported that game prices should reflect these increasing costs and that they're currently too cheap. Inflation's gone up, increase for games should go up. Is that what I'm getting from all of this? Is that the idea? Personally, I feel that game prices are too low. Tashimoto reportedly said, development costs are around 100 times higher than they were in the days of Famicom, for the NES, their version, their region-locked version of it, but the price of software hasn't risen so much. Honestly, the price for hardware for these games has gone up. The price for software is relatively flat, unless you go back and look at the Unity situation where they're trying to claw back some value out of that. But software in itself is software that's being reused several times for many, many different games out there on the market. When you get a very small fraction of that, it is a very large number because the video game industry is almost $300 billion at this point. Now, you're telling me it's too cheap. You're telling me that you need to pay more, that us gamers need to get used to $100 price tags for video games? I say not. There also need to raise wages in order to attract talented people. Given the wages are rising across the industry as a whole, I think the option of raising unit prices is a healthy form of business. No, that means that it's cutting into your profits and you don't want to share that profit with the people and the consumers that should be getting it. This is absolutely absurd. You sell more copies of the game at a $60 price tag over a $70 price tag, you will be able to pay those employees fairly. That's it. Make a game that doesn't crash on day one. Make a game that doesn't look like absolute ass. While some publishers have started the $70 trend for new games, Capcom apparently hasn't made that move yet. Street Fighter 6 and Resident Evil 4 each cost $60 at launch. Capcom also announced last year it would be raising its employees' base salaries by 30% and introducing a new bonus system more closely tied to the company's business performance. That's a very interesting note there, that they are raising 30%. Now, I know there is some companies out there, there's certain companies out there that pay upwards to below 30% of the base wage of what it should be at this point for the prestige of working for those companies. And it's absolutely dreadful when you hear these certain things. When you're first getting your foot in the door, when you're first getting out of school, you want to pick up a job and start paying off those loans that honestly, in some cases, are just a world of hurt for the long haul. This is why I went into the trades. Elsewhere in Nikki's article, Tashimoto also reportedly said that they didn't feel the current economic climate was affecting video game sales, saying business confidence and high prices have little to do with the games industry. So high prices don't affect the industry at all. That's kind of the same point that I made earlier. If you raise the price, it doesn't affect the industry. You need to keep the price at a relatively decent point. You will still sell more copies of the game. If you were to raise it up, you're not going to do that, and then the industry may falter a little bit. Right now, they've got gigantic growth in the industry, and they're looking towards an upwards, just keep going up. That's where the industry is going, and that's how the industry is going to stay ahead of itself. You've got NVIDIA and Intel backing games left, right, and center. Radeon's beating up NVIDIA in the graphics card department right now, and there's so many more things out there when it comes to hardware in general. At the same time, we have Sony and Xbox. They're coming out with new versions of their systems every few years now. There's a Switch 2 that's on the way, that's in development. There's also the Xbox One where they're going completely discless into a digital-only frontier. It's pretty much a mini computer at that point. What's the difference from having a small thing that is a video game console to a computer at this point? That's the big takeaway there. We're moving into the realm where just base games are going to cost more. This doesn't bode well because these games seem to come out and they're not finished. They can't hit the mark. They charge so much more for these games now. They're so much more expensive, but yet they ask us to receive less. That's the big problem here. They're not looking at inflation, they're looking at shrinkflation. They're looking at charging you more for a hell of a lot less, and then paying, in the long run, much more less for those devs, or they don't pay as many in the long run. Sure, Capcom in this case are paying 30% more, but what is the size of their team? Do they have enough developers for their games? I know relatively most Capcom games that come out don't have that many issues, but you're looking at a fighting game like Street Fighter 6, or you're looking at Resident Evil. I think one of the ports for Resident Evil didn't do very well, and I remember back on the PS1, one of the first-person versions of it, it just didn't feel the same pizzazz. It didn't have that same zombie horror survival feeling to it, but the games that do come out from Capcom generally have worked in the past and don't usually need a lot. But we're seeing a lot of these other games out there, like the ones from Warner Brothers, like Hogwarts Legacy, and Bethesda with Starfield. We just see them not do as well in the marketplace, or not so much in the marketplace, just not do as well for the consumer. And that's the big takeaway. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your proud Canadian Phoenix, Cinder Shadow. I am signing off here. Have yourselves a great day.